This video is to help identify, or help you to identify, what model Hodaka you have and where to actually find your engine letter and number and your frame letter and number. This particular bike here this is an Ace 90. It's number 32, and all Ace 90s had a simple metal plate that was pop riveted to the frame directly above the left rear shock. So all Ace 90s would have their frame ID number starting with the letter A, of course, in this location. When the Model 92 Ace 100s came out in 1967, the 1967 and 1968 Model 92s, you will find the frame letter A again and the number, this time stamped into the gusset of the frame directly above the left rear shock. That's the only location that you're going to find any ID to the frame on those models. The Model 92 that came out in 1969 had, again, the letter and number stamped above the left rear shock into the gusset, into the metal here. But in 1969, there was an identification plate that also went onto the steering head with the manufacture date along with the frame letter and the number. So it was a plate that you would find on the steering head. So starting in 69, there were two places for you to be able to see the frame letter and number. One on the gusset, the left gusset of the rear frame, and one on the steering head. The balance of the Ace 100s that were manufactured 1969, 1970, 1971, and in 1972 followed the same idea, that the frame letter and number was stamped on the left rear gusset of the frame directly above the left rear shock, and also there would be a plate on the steering head with the identification. The Superettes, all of the Model 93s, be it a 93, a 93A, or a 93B, was also stamped. The frame was stamped on the gusset directly above the left rear shock, and there would have been an identification plate on the steering head for all of the Superettes. The only exception is starting in 1972 with the number 1 Wombat that was manufactured in May of 1972. From then till the very end, to the last Hodaka model produced, you will find the frame letter and the frame number stamped on the left gusset of the frame below the steering head, sort of kind of underneath the tank if the tank was on the bike. And there also should be an identification plate on the steering head that's riveted to the steering head. But from the 1972 Wombat number 1 all the way to the very end, the last bike made in 1978, this is where you'll find the identification markings.